please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Bob?
Yep. Our heads. Father, we thank you again for this time with our Civil Air Patrol mission and to improve our knowledge in regards to our mission. For those that are still en route, we pray for safety, Father, with these strong winds. We pray to the flyers that may be airborne with these winds, Father. Watch over them, provide them with guardian angels. Be with our families that they support us. In your name we pray.
Amen. Okay, welcome to the meeting, everybody. Today is the general topic, emergency services. Before we go into discussion on emergency services, we will cover a few housekeeping items. First of all, congratulations, Jessica, on your ongoing onboarding flights. Keep it up. We definitely need pilots. A lot of cadets need the rides, and I'm working on scheduling flights with Corona Squadron and with Hamid. Hopefully I'll help a bit Hamid Squadron with their rides. And I just heard that Flabob Squadron is in this desperate need for rides as well. So plenty of opportunity to fly. And I find it very interesting for myself as I talk through the maneuvers with cadets. I actually perform better, apparently. So I probably did my best steep turns ever in 300 hours. I'm a pilot. So I encourage you all to get with onboarding as soon as possible and get flying. Next, this week we have a little bit of winds, so be careful out there. Really keep up with your personal minimums. If you are in doubt, go with the CFI and practice some interesting weather conditions we have with Santa Ana winds. Hopefully it will slow down in a couple of days and we can resume our flying. Some of the opportunities to help Civil Air Patrol in next few weeks. We have what's called WMAO duty approaching for Group 3. It's currently scheduled 2 weeks, first 2 weeks in January. You all should be receiving these emails as long as you are a member of our squadron. Pay attention to it. Take some time to review what this duty is about. It's really simple. All you commit to is for a specific window of time to have your cell phone with you. Don't put it on silent, so you can actually pick it up and respond to an emergency and actually raise it to incident commander in case if we need to assist certain operations. Let's see what we have here. We have Michelle, we have Chris, and we have Lon. Okay, and we have George. Okay, George, maybe you can try switching to Teams. Hello, Terry. All right. I will extend the invitation to Michelle and Chris just to make sure. Thank you for the reminder. We have a few people on chat here talking about it. So what WMAO duty is, you basically commit to a certain window of time to answer your phone and communicate the request for response to the incident commander. You have all the details right in the in our mobile app, and I can actually share the screen and walk you through the steps. Joshua is distributing the email with very detailed instructions. There is actually a YouTube video on how to use the application and specifically how to sign in and sign out from duty. And the sign up spreadsheet form is available in the same email. Give it a thought. It's not that hard. I've done it a few times, and I was never called up so far. So, and if you have any questions, again, let me or Chris know. We will explain the details, what it takes. The other update is related to the SAREX scheduled for this weekend at Whiteman Airport. It's currently going to happen. Hopefully the weather will permit. So far the forecast for the weekend is favorable, but we'll see how it's developing. If you expressed interest to participate in the SAREX, you should have received this document. It outlines the schedule, when we're supposed to check in, and basic housekeeping items. More details will follow. Anyone from the members here is planning to attend? Jessica, did you sign up?
For this weekend?
Yes.
No.
Okay, no problem. Just checking.
Yeah.
If anyone would like to commute, I will be flying actually from here to Whiteman every morning and coming back at night on 743 Charlie Papa, departing approximately 7 a.m. and coming back about 5:30 p.m.
Do you know if they have MSAs or enough?
I don't know if they have enough. You are welcome to check in with Michael Kang.
They will always have room for an MSA.
So I'm going to get my MSA signed out.
Yeah, this is an opportunity if you are close to get signed off on specific qualification, mission scanner, mission observer, staff, missions-based stuff like MSA or whatnot. This is a great opportunity to do that. It's also an opportunity to experience what search and rescue exercise is and get to know people from other squadrons and meet instructors who can help you with your check rides and training and so on and so forth. So if you have time and availability, go for it. Sign up is still open. If you need this information, reach out to me, and you don't have this email, I'll forward it to you. I can just forward it to the whole squadron for the sake of it. Any questions?
I have a comment. I'm going to look it up and I'll tell everybody here when I see it. But this mission will be open for at least 2 weeks after the weekend, okay? Which means we'll be able to fly into this mission number here, back here at Riverside. So, for example, Jessica's going for a scanner. I think Jason's going for a scanner. I don't know where you guys are at yet, but you might be eligible. So anybody that has a rating that they need to get, just because you missed this weekend doesn't mean you won't be able to fly on that.
That's a great comment, and that exercise is funded.
As long as funds are available and this 2 weeks window remains open, you can take this opportunity with other instructors in the area. This is chance to get your ratings done, your qualifications squared away. Hopefully I will attempt to cover some of the practical tasks on mission pilot. We'll see. But I will also be there as a mission staff assistant and help with the management of this event.
Andre, do you have your scanner rating?
I have scanner and I have observer.
Okay, we need to get you started on mission pilot like as soon as possible.
Yeah, we are meeting together
Yes, we are.
on Friday and we will
Yeah,
go.
I totally forgot about that.
I'll remind you. So
No,
yes,
you're right. We are doing that, never mind.
I got my mission scanner signed off pretty quickly actually from the time I came aboard with CAP. I just couldn't get those actual SAREXs done, but all the practical tasks were squared away rather quickly. It's not that hard, and especially if you're a pilot, it's super easy. Just go over some of the information, like refresh it. So there is a National Emergency Services curriculum, which is available online, and it covers all the operational tasks and practical tasks in a very concise, short form, easy enough to just refresh your knowledge, because some of the knowledge you've been required to demonstrate is a little bit outdated, like using actual paper sectional charts. Not a lot of pilots do it from time to time even. We all got used to ForeFlight, but it's part of the drill. You have to really demonstrate that you can put the point on the map, find the coordinates, chart the CAP grid, and so on and so forth.
If you're a pilot, probably half of the tasks or more you qualify for already.
Right.
It's open through December 12th. So. You guys members already, or you just?
This is the second meeting.
Okay, so it's possible. There'll be other SARXs. This happens all the time. Anyway.
Once you come aboard, it's happening pretty often, about once a month, I would say. Not necessarily in a close vicinity to Riverside, but it could be San Diego, it could be Whiteman, it could be Bakersfield, anything. You can join any SARX in the area. There is no restriction how far you would like to go yourself. That's the only limit. And ask around, also make connections in the local community of CAP, and if anyone maybe is flying, just the people always welcome someone to sit in the right seat, or even get an opportunity if it's a CFI practicing. CFI sits in the right seat, and you get to sit in the left seat. Any questions on the SARX?
Yeah. Is it a one-day event, or is it the same thing done twice this weekend, or?
It's basically, you don't have to be all days. You can come only for Sunday, only for Saturday, and cover as many tasks as you like. It's a self-paced process.
Yeah.
Nobody's pushing you. Hey, you have to do it right now with this pilot. You actually talk to people, get to know a pilot who is flying specific sorties, and get yourself on a crew.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get yourself on the crew, you don't get to fly.
Right.
As simple as that. And be there early, so you actually put yourself on a schedule.
Right.
Otherwise, other people come in. If it's well-attended event, you may be pushed aside. The sign-up usually is pretty open-ended. You basically say, I want to be there, and I want to accomplish this and this, but you are not being assigned to the air crew. The breakup on air crew is happening at the site, actually. So there is usually like a couple of hours for people to mingle a little bit and figure it out. At least those I've been to. Eric, anything you'd like to add?
It's excruciating process.
Sometimes it's just a lot of waiting time and just talking to people and learning on the spot. So the good thing, you usually have a lot of subject matter experts who can sign you off on stuff. Your key opportunity is to meet these people, identify them by name, by their appearance, and chase them around. So even if you perform the task, sometimes the pilot cannot sign you off because he is not a set. So you still have to actually get that pilot to talk to the set. Pilot can explain that you actually did demonstrate this task, and set will sign you off by asking a few questions maybe. So it's an interesting process. Definitely. All right, so does anyone would like to get a refresh how to deal with SQTR, Squitter, as we call it? Like, guys on Teams, do you feel comfortable navigating the e-services and actually requesting the specialty track approval from me? Because first thing you have to do, you actually have to go and check some boxes. It sends notification to me, copy it goes to Chris and Mike, and we have to click the box, which opens up additional boxes for you to work on. So again, if you feel lost, like, well, I feel lost once in a while. I was looking for this document in electronic form, the latest copy, and it took me a while to actually find it on CAP website.
It's easier just to Google it.
That's exactly how I found it. At first I found it on some other Squadron's resources, and then I found it on CAP website. And again, don't hesitate to ask. At CAP, if you don't ask questions, you may get stuck real quick.
Does everybody know what Squiders is? You guys have any idea what he's talking about? Okay. I don't know what the acronym stands for. Do you know what it stands for? Training record, something, maybe it's squadron qualification, training record.
Specialty qualification, training records.
SQTR, we call it Squiders.
I'll
Okay.
share the screen and
You
I'll
can go ahead and show the screen. Essentially, this is where your training record is kept in Silver Patrol. It's not only a record, but it's also a roadmap. Okay. So when you go into Squidders, which will show you how to navigate there, after you sign in, once you guys become members, everybody has a member ID, a CAP ID number. It's your license plate for CAP. Use that and a password to get into the site. At that point, really should talk to maybe Mike Swift and some of these other guys. Maybe this guy here is a good computer guy. Help you get your home page set up with some favorites. The stuff you're going to use a lot. One of them is going to be my qualifications. So
Yeah, so
where you
once
see
put
right
it
here,
in, it will be
right there is the landing page for e-services, and then there's a drop-down menu to the left that would have operations qualifications in there, or you could save it as a favorite so it's easy to find. But in operation qualifications, this is where you're going to find, you drop that down, this is where you're going to find the Squidders. So you see down there on the left-hand side of the tab, there's a Squidders worksheet. So you can print this out, take it with you, for example, on a training flight, or like a training mission. But also you can open it up online here.
Yeah, so
And
for example, if you click on mission scanner, that's the first achievement.
so that drop-down box, go to the drop-down box again when it says Squidder worksheets, because there's however many different qualifications there. There's a whole bunch. When you just did the drop-down, do the drop-down to show how many there were again. See all those? Those are all the mission qualifications you can get as a Silver Patrol member. In amongst those, mission scanner, mission pilot, mission observer, ground team, all kinds of different things. You see the list there, you can read it. But anyway, so he's chosen mission scanner. The reason why we really focus on mission scanner here is because it's the requisite step to take to becoming a mission pilot. I think you guys are both pilots, and you're really not going to get much out of Silver Patrol unless you become a mission pilot, okay, or at least at very minimum a cadet orientation pilot. But to become that, you have to become a scanner first. The scanner is the part of the air crew. There's 3 members of the air crew. The pilot, obviously, that's responsibility for keeping you safe and putting you on target. And that's it, not to look or do anything like that. Then you have the mission observer, like Chris Younger up here. He's a pilot also, but he's not a CAP mission pilot yet, but he is an observer. And he's proficient with working the multifunction display, the MFD, the Becker unit, the CAP radio, and he's essentially, that mission observer is the mission commander, okay? That's the person that's tasked with running actually what the mission's going to be, okay? The pilot gets you there, the mission observer is the mission commander, and one set of eyeballs out of the right side of the aircraft, and then the scanner is essentially the secretary in the cockpit. This person does all of the logging, if there's any targets, they're marking down lat longs on that. They're also the eyeballs on the left side of the airplane. So it's important that as a pilot, a mission pilot, you go through the process of understanding what a scanner does, and that's really the purpose behind it. Okay, you have to sit back there in the back seat, which might be uncomfortable for somebody that's used to flying, okay, and feel what it's like to be in that person's shoes, so to speak, when you're flying around, maybe low to the ground and slow and looking for things. So go ahead and from there, so this Squidder's training record, there's two steps to this. There's the,
Right, so my example is not right because I already checked off and it shows my status
Yeah.
as active, and my expiration date is through March, end of March 2025. So at the end of that date, I will have to complete additional 9 tasks on top of what is already done in the past to requalify myself to continue operate as a mission scanner. So let's use Jessica as an example maybe. So I guess I click on this button. Yes, what is your cap? 682? 559. Right, so here we have Jessica's record. So first thing you have to do to even get access to other boxes is to complete general emergency services. So once you get onboarded as a CEP member, that's one of the few things you have to get done before you get to actual tasks on hand.
and Andre, is that part of the curriculum of level 1?
Yes.
Okay. So that will be done for, basically when you show up, when you land on this page after completing level 1, which is CAP boot camp, okay? That box will be highlighted in green. Okay?
Right. And then you just check off that you are over 18, and then you have to request my approval for starting the training actually. So all you have to do is check this box, put the date, and click submit. It will send me a notification. Besides me, squadron commander deputies can sign off for you to get working on these tasks. So Jessica has done a good job. She completed what's called familiarization and preparatory training. So we call it FAM and Prep. So it means that you generally have an idea what this job is about. So you completed prerequisite training before you get to work on practical tasks. Once you complete those blocks up top, you have to request continuation for your training. So you again submit a request to me or Mike Swift or Chris, and we will check you off. And then that checkbox means you can actually go to actual SAREX or actually practice under that SAREX mission outside of the SAREX event and complete those advanced training tasks. So, for example, prerequisites to advanced training task completion would be completion of emergency services studies under program 100 and 700, which is done at the FEMA website. It's online training, self-paced. At the end, you just have to get time test completed to get credit for it. And you'll receive a certificate which you upload to your qualifications. I'll show you how in a moment. And once you upload it, again, one of us will receive notification that we have to log in, review that actually your name on the certificate and the completion of specific level. And after that, these tasks expected to be done at actual SAREX event or under the mission of SAREX, and you have to be present at 2 exercises. So you have to go to 2 separate events to get qualified as a mission scanner.
Just to highlight what he's talking about the ICS 100 and is it the 700? What are the 2?
Yes.
Okay. So this is actually a program that is standard within all emergency services. So the police, the fire, Customs and Border Protection, they all use the incident command system, hierarchy of command structure. And so those 2 courses are offered outside of Civil Air Patrol because we adopted the incident command structure probably 10 years ago. We used to have something different that was CAP. Now we can when we're working together with CAL FIRE, an example, and we're taking photos at a fire mission, everybody's speaking the same language. Everybody has the same command structure. So those are courses that are offered through the CAP portal that'll link you to the ICS courses. And there's a bunch of them depending on what level you're going to rise to. As a crew member, those are the 2 that you need to understand. It basically outlines the structure of it all, and blah, blah, blah. The rest of them are, and if you don't have an entire evening planned on this, I would be happy to go over the CAP radio usage tonight, if you want me to.
Yeah, that would be
But
great.
CAP radio usage is on there, I'm sure. There's other things that are on there that are CAP related, and you have to, there's only one way you can get that experience is out there flying around, right?
And CAP radio usage comes at observer level, scanner doesn't have to.
You have to, don't you have to know how to use the radio there? No?
There's like one task. Push the talk button.
Port position. Reduce fatigue.
It's upper right, the middle, right side, right column. Operator craft communications.
Okay, yeah. There is a task.
Well, even if you don't have to have it for, you're not gonna move, if you're a pilot, you're not gonna probably move on to observer. There'd just be no reason to, okay? You can if you want to.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just simply saying, because you're a relatively low-time pilot, and so, but if someone's a higher-time pilot, they just probably move into pilot category from scanner. So you have to know how to use the CAP radio, obviously, at that point. But anyway, what are some of the other tasks there? Just read them off. I can't see that far.
Yeah, so aircraft ground handling
It's
is
mandatory for all aircrew. Aircrew professionalism is mandatory. It's online course. It's automatically credited once you complete it. The practical tasks include locating point on map using latitude and longitude. So basically, you are giving latitude and longitude, and you have to find it on a given map, usually a sectional or whatever. Then the other task is related to use of CAP grid system. So CAP grid system is additional layer on top of a standard map you use for navigation. It just breaks it into smaller and more manageable section of the map where actual search and rescue is being conducted. So there is basically simple tasks outlining how it's getting done and what level of detail goes with it, what are the entries into the grid, and so on and so forth. Demonstrating safety while taxiing, so essentially making sure that you are not hitting anything, and what are the distances we have to maintain between obstacles and aircraft, and how can we obey the marshalling signals, and so on and so forth. Very simple, straightforward. As mentioned earlier, operating aircraft communication equipment, that includes standard audio panel and CAP radio. CAP radio is a little bit different from putting the right frequency in and so on and so forth. You're actually not turning the frequency knob, you are selecting the preset frequency which has been already programmed into the unit. And there are a couple of modes of operation which are important. So there is a on-guard frequency, there is a current frequency you are talking on, and slightly different radio protocol which goes with it. Demonstrating scanning patterns and locating targets. So that's a practical task. Since you are observer, you're sitting on the left or the right side of the aircraft, looking down below, and you have to explain how you would scan visually the area the aircraft is flying over to be effective as a scanner. And the next task would be techniques to reduce fatigue. So obviously, when you sit in the back seat, you get tired faster than you're sitting in the front and looking outside, operating the aircraft. Plus, you may be circling over specific areas, so doing some unusual maneuvers for the person in the front seat from the first-hand experience. So there are specific options for you to stay sharp and vigilant in your job. Otherwise, if you are too tired and unable to focus on objects below, the search will not be effective. Ability to track and record position on sectionals and maps. So essentially, once you notice a specific target, you have to log where it's located. So if you are an observer, you simply use navigation equipment to pinpoint the location, create user waypoint, But if you are sitting in the back seat, you have your map maybe on a for-flight or just a sectional map. You'll be able to identify specific elements of surrounding the target and log it effectively, so the task can be conveyed to the crew on the ground to actually go and find the subject being searched for. And the last task is ability to keep a log. So there is a specific preferred format for log keeping that includes engine starts, wheels up, regular reports en route, at the top of hour, at the bottom of hour, when you get into the grid, and then basically logging specific events during the search and rescue event. Once you demonstrate these things, you actually have to do it on actual airplane while exercising search for some downed aircraft or maybe a lost hiker and whatnot. So there will be a training event, and these tasks will be conducted and logged. And at the end, once all of these tasks checked off, where you also specify the mission under which this is being evaluated, and the assessment can be done by Mike Swift or set present at the search and rescue event.
There isn't anything that I can't sign off. In Civil Air Patrol, flying-wise. So I'm a good resource here. So you don't have to worry about going to all those other places. Mike or I can do it, and if Mike can't do it, I can do it.
So all these advanced are practical, whereas the previous initial are all computer-based training?
I don't know. Were you reading off the second group of tasks or the first group of tasks right there?
That's advanced training.
The second group, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, the first part was like, what was the first part?
The first part is more broad, like demonstrate ground operations and safety. So
Weather conditions, yeah. So it's all just, there's a book called Aircrew Task Guide, and there's a task or a procedure number next to each one of those that corresponds to a page in that book. So you go to the book where it says, give me a number,
yeah,
for
for
example.
example, 2015, and I can actually find it up.
So then you just go to the book and go to 00215. It'll explain what it is, the background of what it is, give you all the technical information that you need, and it'll even, I think, give you a
That's
practice
pretty much the
test or
same
something
book
on
as
that.
this one, but you
Yeah.
can have it on your computer as PDF.
So it's very straightforward. I guess that's the point that I was trying to drive home, in highlighting the fact that your CAP training, it's laid out for you pretty clearly in terms of what it is you need to do. Secondly, we have all the resources that we need right here at our home squadron to get it all signed off. So even if you can't attend these SARXs, there'll always be a SARX number that'll be open. I'm flying all the time. We're bringing some new pilots on here pretty quickly here. Jessica's in the onboarding program, Jason's in the onboarding program. I'm gonna get you going on mission pilot. So we'll have lots of different resources too in terms of flying. So, did you want me to go over the CAP radio real quick?
Yes,
Do
sure.
we have a picture of one that you can pull up?
I
out
can
of the
find it
aircraft?
and put it up.
So, the key to the CAP radio is, well,
Don't touching the frequency button.
yeah, keep it, we're gonna keep it simple. That's really the key to it, okay? There's lots of different ways to enter in a frequency to CAP radio, right? You can actually go and enter them in. What's the trouble in doing that, Bob?
Sometimes you make mistakes.
Sometimes you're trying to program something into the radio, and then you change it. You're actually changing the radio frequency altogether, like you're reformatting the radio. Would that be good? It's probably not that great.
Especially that one channel.
So, okay, the CAP, Civil Air Patrol, for you guys that are new here, we have the largest radio net in the country, CAP. It's essentially your ham radio operated when you're on a CAP radio. That's the same thing, okay? So we have all these repeaters all over the place that allow us to be able to communicate all over California, not line of sight through repeaters or line of sight, of course. The CAP radio is the vessel through which we communicate on a mission. All right. So, plainly put, if you're an aircrew and you're in a CAP airplane and you don't know how to use it, you're just simply going to be, you're not going to be very effective. If a pilot has got to be over there helping you do it, it's going to be big trouble, okay? Because that pilot's already busy with airspace and engine management, flying, and all these other things. Okay, so he's going to bring up a picture of it. The CAP radio is to the lower right-hand side of all of our aircraft. It is usually, most commonly, but not always, COM3, okay? In Zelda, in the aircraft that we've had here, it was COM2. First time I'd ever seen it. Talk about negative transfer, okay? When you're trying to flip around listening to radio frequencies. But it's normally COM3. In our G1000 aircraft, the observer sitting in the right seat has their own intercom, okay? Apart from the pilot. Meaning, whatever buttons they're pushing over there, they're listening to. If I only have COM1 selected in terms of the mic, it's obviously carrying over. I'm listening to COM1 also. I don't hear anything on the CAP radio unless I have COM3 selected. But the observer can sit over here and select COM3 mic, and that obviously selects for listening to. So they're listening to Civil Air Patrol and talking to Civil Air Patrol. I'm listening to approach control and talking to approach control, and neither one of us can hear the other thing. But we can hear each other in the intercom. I can hear him talk, okay, in the intercom. So, just as a side note, that can get kind of distracting, right? Because you're trying to listen for a radio call, traffic alert, for example, from SoCal. And the observers over here saying, yeah, you know, Roger, over and out, all these things. Right? So, anyway, we're going to bring up a picture of that? That's a side note. But anyway, so it's COM3. There's a mission master that turns on all that equipment over there, that turns on the CAP radio and the Becker unit. Okay, it's in the checklist. Here it is. Okay, great, blow that up. So this is the Texonic, and I believe this is the standard radio that's in all the aircraft these days. Oh, you had it.
Yeah, it's coming. I just wanted to
So, when we turn the Mission Master on, this will come on. Now, this is an on-off button right here. We never turn that off, okay? These dials should always be at the 12 o'clock position. Now, what do you think these dials are? Their volume, okay? So it's an on-off switch, but it's also your volume switch for your main frequency. And here's your volume switch. And this is also your volume switch. Your volume switch for guard frequency. Let's talk about the distinguishing factor between the two. Does anybody know what the main frequency is? Okay, that's exactly right. We're going to have a comm plan, okay, in the mission briefing. We're going to have a comm plan, and it might be, in this particular case, it'd be CC1 or Simplex is the name of that frequency right there, okay? But it could be Santiago, it could be Laguna, it could be, and these are names of repeaters. And there'll be a channel associated with that, okay? So there's a channel number, which is here, channel number, and then a description of the frequency. In this particular case, it's what? Channel 1, right? And then the frequency descriptor. I don't know how many channels there are. There's probably 200 channels. I don't know. Okay? And in and amongst these channels are like CHP, CAL FIRE, all of them. Okay? We have access to the whole catalog. All right? But we also have the ones that are unique to Civil Air Patrol. So you'll get a channel plan, and here's where that channel is going to be for your main frequency. This is really how we're talking to either the other air crews in our area, back to base, or ground crews. This is how we change that channel. Like a book, what do you do with book? Turn a page. We're going to turn a page by turning a page, just like a book. You want to go that way in the book, you push the arrows, go that way. You want to go this way, right there. These two buttons turn the page. If you hold it down, it turns it faster. Okay? So if you have to go to channel, say 63, it's on 1. Do not try to enter the channel in there. Okay? Be patient. It'll take 2 seconds. Hold this down and go fast scroll up to 63. Okay? Now you're there, and it will confirm that you're there with the name too. Okay? You can turn this up past halfway. You can never turn it down past halfway. Why is that, do you think? We want to hear it. Do you know how many times people have had guard turned down to 0 here? And they're not being able to get a hold of them on main, which I'm going to explain what guard is here in a second, and they can't hear them. So now, when we can't get a hold of you and you're flying an airplane in a grid, in the olden days, it may not be this way anymore because we got Flight Radar 24. We've got, I mean, you could follow everybody around if you want to with the ADSB. But they're going to be launching a search for you if they can't get a hold of you. So we want to be able to keep this right here. So what happens is we dial in the frequency for the mission here using our page here. We're listening to this, and we're always listening to this too. Okay? And it's just like when you're flying along an airplane. You guys listen to guard when you're flying along across country? You should. If you have an extra frequency, you should be listening to guard. Okay? Which is, what's guard? 121.5, right? All right, so in this particular case, there's 2 ways to choose a channel for guard. You can do guard 1 or 2. Over here, you scroll for these channels here all day long. There's only 2 guard channels, guard 1 and guard 2, whatever this knob is flipped to, up or down. Guard 1 is generally air-to-air. Guard 2 is generally air-to-ground, okay? Not always. This is a simplex line of sight frequency. It will not work if there's a mountain between you and somebody. So it's not a repeater, it's direct line of sight. So, like I said, this is used a lot of times. We'll be out in a search. We'll be using R62, which is a repeater, let's just say, because base is on the other side of the mountains. We're trying to talk to them. Maybe we can't, for whatever reason, our comms are bad. There might be ground teams in the area, and base calls ground team on a cell phone and says, hey, get a hold of those guys on guard. Well, they're line of sight with us, right? So it's a different, so they could be able to call us on guard as long as we're listening to the right guard frequency, right? That's going to be the channel plan too. Guard 1 for this mission or guard 2, okay? And then we'll be able to hear somebody calling us. Now, how do we know which frequency it is that we're listening to? The answer is there'll be a light come on over here. See this receiving here? When you hear on the radio, Cat 443, this is Yosemite 217 over, when you look at over here to the radio, you see which line it is, and then you know which way to respond. If it's the main frequency, which this is on main right now, to transmit, you're good to go. Just go ahead and transmit back on main. If it's guard, then what you've got to do is switch over the push-to-talk to guard. Okay, so that's all that this is. Talking on main, talking on guard. Listening to guard 1 or listening to guard 2. You're always listening to guard. Never turn this volume down. You're always listening to main. Never turn that volume down. You can turn it up. In both cases, you can turn it up. Never turn it down past halfway. And then you've got these 2 buttons right here. They adjust the brightness of the display, up or down. Pretend like this doesn't even exist. All of this. See that? Just pretend they don't exist. So many times people have screwed up the radios by trying to, enter in all this stuff. And honestly, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't remember how to do it. Look, you do this stuff when's the last mission you've been on?
Hybrid,
Okay.
2 months, 3 months.
Okay. And then when's the last time you flew the airplane and used a CAP radio? Maybe that's probably a better way of saying it.
flew it last week on Friday.
Okay,
I
so
didn't use the radio.
at best case scenario, you're using it once a week or every 2 weeks, and in the worst case scenario, you're using it every 3 or 4 months. How well do you remember stuff you use? So you got to break it down to the simplest component, right? You want to make it simple. So it's always left on at 12 o'clock, so we never touch these. Depending on which frequency we want to transmit on, we flip this up or down. Depending on which guard frequency is in the channel plan at the mission, we put that on. And then we scroll to this and we turn it up or down. This here, pretend like it doesn't exist. We never touch that. And that's just simply high power or low power. It's always on high. Pretty simple. You guys feel like you could work the CAP radio? Go ahead.
Does guard, is that the only one that doesn't carry a number, GD instead of
Well,
a numerical value?
when guard, these channels are pre-programmed in here. It'll have a channel number and a description, but that's pre-programmed in there. So guard used to be CC1, for example. I think it's something different now. I think they do
So
say
guard's
guard.
always the second line.
Guard's always the second line. Whoever programs the radio, which that's not our job, there'll be a frequency identifier here that's on guard 1 and guard 2, and then it might be, the frequency could actually be the same as what you're talking on the top line, depending what the program,
I think an important distinction to know for the pilots in the group as well, we're not programming frequencies. So that, I think that's a point of contention, because a lot of people will be like, oh, let's get in there. No. These are programmed by the group and wing communications officers. So just make sure that we're just selecting frequencies. Like, we're not trying to actively punch in a frequency.
Yeah.
That
Actually,
helps with the confusion.
If you just think of channels, you just take and slew for channel, forget about the frequency.
right.
Because you should have a sheet somewhere listing the channels.
In the
and
aircraft,
the
there's a
frequency
book.
it says. But, you know, you really don't know until you get in there if the airplane's been used with somebody else, if that frequency's been changed. So you really need to carry that sheet with you.
In the aircraft, there is a resource on this that will tell you how to actually program a frequency, okay, in a step-by-step thing. So in the case where Bob was talking about, where somebody's gone in there and fouled things up, they've gotten things 6 ways to Sunday, okay, you do have a resource there that you refer to enter in a particular channel frequency, all right? But for the most part, we're just gonna go ahead and just dial in. Channel plan for this mission is 62. We're gonna go right up to 62, we're gonna leave it there, we're done. All right? What am I forgetting? Am I forgetting anything here? I don't think so.
Just reinforce, one of the SARCs I was on, they wanted to do complicated advanced things on the communication systems, and in the comm plan, they were requesting that people reprogram these radios. Say no. Just say no, because it's a, let the comms officers do it, and you don't try to do it, because you will jack up the rate.
Say no. Good point, because I've been to missions, and it has been a while, but I've been to missions where, you know, see these radio guys, there's actually comm officers, okay, that really are into this stuff. They're probably ham radio operators in their spare time anyway, and I mean, they're talking, you know, they love this stuff. So they get all geeked out by telling you, we're gonna use 148.1975 on crystal technology, whatever. Okay, and then they're gonna want you to go in and program that into the CAP radio. And I say, that's wonderful. What's the channel number again? Okay, so that's how you do that. All right, so we talked about in the intercom, it's usually COM 3. We talked about the master switch bringing this up. Okay, we talked about it's very simple to use. Here's the squelch button.
That's a good point.
What's
It's
that?
not always COM 3.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Yeah.
So here's the squelch button. You push that, and then you'll get it'll open up the frequency in here. Oh, making sure that yeah, okay, it's working. Whatever. Now, what are pro words? Jessica Delgado. You just went through this, I'm only picking on,
I know.
I'm not gonna make, okay,
Like a
pro
week
word,
ago.
a pro word stands, you know what a pro word is?
Stock words for them.
It is a pronounceable word. That's what that stands for, pronounceable word. What's an example? If you watch Airplane, there's all the pro words you ever need, right? Roger, over, out, Wilco, say again. You know, these are is the shorthand for ham radio, okay? And so we use these, and you'll want to brush up on them a little bit. I don't think I've ever used anything other than Roger, break, Wilco, negative,
Maybe repeat.
affirmative, say again,
Repeat.
Say again.
say again, yeah.
Okay.
Say again, or I say again, or message to follow. These are pretty much the standard ones. There's a whole bunch of them. If you go in and read them, it's like, wow, you get dizzy.
When you guys do your iCut, which isn't, I don't, what is iCut required? Is it for mission pilot or for observer?
Observer.
Yeah, so mission scanners won't need it, but pilots will. The only people who are gonna get mad at you about pro words are the comms guys. So, just so you know.
Look, you know, it's like I tell the cadets when I'm flying with them. I said, if you see an airplane, don't try to tell me in a clock position, okay? We're not on a TV show here. Say to the right or left, up or down, okay? Because when you can say 3 o'clock, you really mean, okay? You're looking at me 9 o'clock and I'll be looking the wrong way. So when it really boils down to it, just get the message across the way that you know that you can in the time that you have, okay? Don't get caught up with having to think through what the right pro word is, and in the meantime, we're not relaying the information in the time that we need it to. Does that make sense? It always helps to think about what you're going to say, and even if you have to write it down before you say it, okay? So there are several radio calls that you would use as a observer, and a lot of times the observer will throw the switch back to the scanner. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a push-talk switch in the back seat. If the workload is high, say the observer is taking photos or something like that, it's usually the other way around, but let's just say it is that way. It might make more sense to have the scanner doing the comms. So that said, there's...
That's how incident communication plan looks like.
Okay. So it says R26, so there'd be 2 different repeaters being used. I think 26 is Laguna and 62 is Santiago. I don't know for sure.
One is primary, one is backup.
Yeah. And then there's air-to-air TAC 1. That's another channel on your top line. And then backup would be cap guard. And they should stipulate if it's guard 1 or 2, obviously. And then there's other frequencies here sometimes that were given for like fire, CAL FIRE, or Customs and Border Protection, or whatever it is that we happen to be doing.
Where are the numbers? Frequency numbers, right?
Right there.
Remember, we talked about
There's-
that.
Yeah, there should be a number here. This
Well,
is,
not always.
yeah, there should be. There should always be a number there. This is probably a communications plan for internal purposes and planning, but on day of, in flight operations, I guarantee you, they're gonna tell you channel 62 for the
Oh,
flight
that
crew.
was actual number.
Well, then this is
R26.
why, then you gotta ask them the channel. It is 62, okay, which is incredibly intuitive for Civil Air Patrol to do that. But you need to ask them the channel number, and not just the descriptor, channel number. All right, so anyhow, there's several communications that you've got to make as a scanner observer. Does anybody know what they are?
Wheels up.
That's one. Can you give them to me in order?
Well, let's see. Wheels up. First of all, yeah, wheels up.
Well, let's go back to the beginning.
Engine start.
Engine start, okay, good,
All right.
yep,
And then wheels up.
that's correct.
And then entering the grid.
On station, correct.
Yeah. And then top of the hour, bottom of the hour,
Yes, that's right,
and return to base.
RTB. And then, what's the last one?
Oh,
The
engine
obvious
stop.
one, we gotta land.
Yeah.
Wheels down.
Wheels down.
Yeah, so engine start, wheels up, on station, and then ops normal is what he's talking about on the hour and on the half. Ops normal, RTB, which is return to base, and then wheels down, and that's pretty much it. So did I cover it in a way that makes it easy to remember? Okay. You can't get hurt if you never turn it off, so forget about doing that. You can't get hurt if you never touch these and they're always at 12 o'clock, right? Can't get too hard if you don't change this. It should be on main. Main stands for main line, right?
Can you just think about transmitter and receiver? So the transmitter's left, the receiver's right. Okay?
Okay.
So he transmits on main.
Yep.
That's on the channel. Guard, GD, that's a transmitter. I've listened to G1 and I listened to G2, that's
Yeah.
a receiver.
Yep. So, now, and then the last thing is just turn a page like a book, right? And then, if you want more sunlight, turn it up. Or turn it down for nighttime use or something like that.
Here's one of my pet peeves. We're in ATC, we're in transit somewhere. And ATC gives you traffic. What's the correct response back to ATC?
Cat 443, no contact is the correct
How about
response.
tally ho?
Well, that's not actually, that's
It
slang.
isn't worth a shit, pardon my expression.
Yeah, it's not. It's contact or no contact, I think is the phrase.
You gotta say contact, I don't have visibility,
Yeah.
or no contact.
Yeah.
Those are the three words that you can use. But this tally ho thing, it sounds like some guy's trying to be a fighter pilot, you know?
I do hear that. I love the squawk. I've got 5242 in the box. I hear
Yeah.
that one. Anyway,
Is it cardboard or hardboard?
there's a guy named Jim McDermott. He's a mission manager down there in Imperial, and he'll always be talking like this. He's an old Marine. He'd be like, "Yeah, you need to watch your ass down there around Yuma." I know he could be talking. I don't care. This is probably a pretty good impersonation of him anyway. So thanks for that, Dave. Mind your own business. Anyway, so you can be down there, and you know, you gotta have your head on the swivel because they got those jets flying low out of Yuma. And if you want to hear about it, you just listen to 123.zip. Okay, anybody got any questions? It's 23.zip. That's totally Jim McDermott. But anyway, just some more slang. I love 123.zip. .0. So anyway. Anybody have any questions about radio tonight? So we'll just continue along this emergency service. We'll talk maybe about the Becker unit the next time. We'll keep talking about squitters. The plane should be back. Jessica, are you flying Thursday?
Hopefully, the winds seem
Okay.
to be calm.
The winds
so-
are going to be good by tomorrow night,
Okay.
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it. So Chris and Michelle were online tonight, I guess, good. And Lon and Mario. All right, anything else? Do we have a status on the airplane? Is it coming back tomorrow, or?
Yeah, it's expected to be here by 12:30. Depends on
Okay.
winds.
They've been flying it a lot, I've noticed. They've
Yeah.
really flown it, so that's good.
Well, they did ask our permission to have the airplane because they had a number of 4-5s and cadet rides scheduled at
Yeah.
Fullerton. And aircraft which was residing at Fullerton, 887 Charlie Papa, was taken back to Palm Springs.
Fullerton gets another aircraft from Oregon by end of this week, so they're gonna keep that aircraft for a while, and we will keep 743 Charlie Papa for a while. Lon gave us some updates. The mixture control cable came in. It's here at the maintenance 1, and since next week is slow week for flying due to Thanksgiving holiday, we will replace the mixture control cable. I personally didn't feel any stiffness in the mixture control. I flew it quite a bit. I flew proficiency flight, I flew night proficiency, and one cadet event, so didn't feel any problem with it. I did see the brightness issue in my night currency flight. From my experience, what I have seen, basically the sensor which dims the display by itself is probably overly sensitive because it was too dim on the
It was too
key.
dim at night?
Yes, so it was hard to see. So I switched to manual and I set it at about 35. It was perfect. One other thing is by accident I pressed and set it to 0. From 0 to put it back to normal brightness, it took me quite a lot of turning. So it took me, I don't know, I mean, lot of twisting to the right. So I feel like
That's
something is
interesting.
wrong with the real start when you are going from 0 up.
Did you push it into reversionary mode?
No.
Well, if that ever happens to you at night, press reversionary mode immediately, and then you'll at least have your instruments on the right side.
That's a good point.
Fussing with that, because
It happened on the
if
ground.
you lose the cursor on that, you're done. I mean, there's no getting that cursor back into position when you don't know where it's at, because the screen's black, right? So, anyway.
One more housekeeping item. Next week, no meeting. We have a blackout for the next week due to holidays. So enjoy Thanksgiving week and holidays. Spend time with your family. If you're flying, fly safe and enjoy it.
Question. So you got a Starbucks 19 and 20. You got Ken Benner, who's got a meeting Friday night and Saturday morning for commanders. How do you do that?
Well, I told him I'm on Sarex. I can't do
I need
that.
to talk to him, because the only way it's gonna be solved is to have a specific date each month of which he can cancel, and that way people have it on their calendar.
That's true.
So I need to get back to him.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Meeting is over.